see all this activity here? So it's headed toward Sandyville at about 8:23.
It's going to keep crews busy throughout the night. I mean, look at the debris field.
A lot going on. We have a flash flood warning in effect.
You guys are under a severe thunderstorm warning.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining and joining our little weather community, WUSA9 Weather Watchers. Now, for those of you on Zoom, just a couple of things. Make sure your mic is muted. Although I do love dogs, don't want to hear the dogs barking. Put us on speaker view or pin our video so you see the training. And we've got a whole bunch of folks joining. Hey, welcome everyone. Excellent. Thanks for taking time out on this evening. And this is going to concentrate on severe weather for spring and also for summer. Now, if you have questions, put your questions in the chat. We have someone monitoring the chat, and we'll do questions essentially at the end of the presentation. But right now, want to talk about a couple of things, and this is the agenda. And again, we're going to concentrate on thunderstorms and tornadoes. Not going to touch on hurricanes right now. So we're talking about severe weather watching, the best practices, taking photos and videos, how to submit those photos and videos, and questions, again, put in the chat, if you will, because we'll get to as many of your questions as we can at the end. All right, let's talk about our mission. We have a mission. So, Weather Watchers mission. You are now part of a community of weather enthusiasts connecting real people to real weather in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia area. We will track weather and share observations from sunny days to big winter storms and severe weather. In this community, we can engage in thoughtful weather conversation about past or future weather events, and we'll be insiders to exciting upcoming WUSA9 weather events and news features. So this is just not about severe weather. You're going to be a part of our shows and our content every day, whether it's sunny, whether it's storming, whether it's snowing, what have you. We want your content every day. We want you to share that content, of course, with us and also with each other, because you're going to find yourselves really a lot in common with other these weather enthusiasts. In fact, a lot of you probably are already weather watchers. You just didn't know it. You just finally joined a community. So now you can do that. All right, so let's talk about a couple of things. So we're going to share weather photos and videos. You're our eyes and ears in the field. And we have things like hail and tornadoes. That's what we need. We want you to share any weather photos, sunrise, sunset, snow or rain totals, severe weather phenomena or damage. We want you to be safe when you're taking these pictures and these photos. Those will be shown with your photo name on newscast. Facebook group, WUSA9 Weather Watchers, will post a heads up about active weather, cool blogs or weather history and events coming up. We're going to post your photos and videos. We're going to have a little top photo of the week contest. So every week, we'll see what we think is the best photo. Again, may not be severe weather, maybe a sunrise, maybe a sunset, maybe a moonrise. Who knows? You can continue weather conversation with each other, weather watchers. And again, WUSA9 Weather Watchers gear. Yes, we're going to send you some swag. We've got to figure out what we're going to send you and how we're going to get it to you or how you're going to pick it up. But there will be stuff like rain gauges and some snow sticks and some other things to help you get us this information. If you have temperatures, a thermometer or an anemometer, great. Go ahead and tell us about that. That will help us out. All right, so we're going to talk about severe weather watching. And this is what this is going to concentrate on. Your safety is our number one concern. Yes, we want photos. Yes, we want videos. Yes, we want to be on top of severe weather, but your safety is our number one concern. So we don't want you putting yourself at risk trying to get a picture. If you have any doubt about being safe, don't take the picture. Take the aftermath. That's fine. So let's first talk about a watch and a warning. And I've been to a lot of Weather Service meetings, and they're going back and forth as to changing this. I hope they don't. Right now, I think they're going to keep the watch and the warning system. I think it works pretty well. Yes, it can be a little confusing to some folks, but you all probably know this already if you're a weather watcher, but we'll go through it. A watch means there's a risk of hazardous weather. Have a plan in case storms threaten. So a watch essentially means, hey, it's possible. Conditions are favorable for that to happen. Warnings are, uh-oh, the event is actually occurring now, and it's time to take action and put that plan into action. And, of course, to save property and lives. So, again, the watch, it could happen. The warning, it is happening. And I think they're going to keep these. And remember, we can have a severe thunderstorm watch. We can have a winter storm watch. We can have a flood watch. A lot of different watches can turn into a lot of different warnings. The big one, of course, is the tornado. Okay? So, watch means be prepared. A tornado is possible. Stay alert. Download our app if you haven't done that already. And a watch, as you probably know, can cover a pretty wide area. It can cover a good chunk of the DMV. A warning is specific with a tornado. A warning means a tornado's on the ground or it's Doppler indicated and it's time to take action and take cover. These are issued by our local weather service out of Sterling, Virginia. The watches are issued countrywide by the Severe Storms Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. So, but the warnings are left up to the local offices, and that comes out of Sterling. Okay, let's talk about clouds, because we want pictures of clouds, especially these kinds of clouds. There's your water spout, there's your roll cloud, there's your shelf cloud and your mammatus clouds. That usually means we had hail and a very intense thunderstorm. When you see mammatus clouds, they hang down, and that is a good telltale sign of a very, very severe thunderstorm. There's the shelf cloud, not to be confused with the wall cloud. The shelf cloud's sort of leading edge of the storm. Wall cloud's kind of in the back where the tornado can drop down. Usually there's not any precipitation by the wall cloud. There is by the shelf cloud. So just kind of know these clouds. We have some more, I think, for you. Yes, there's a tornado, okay? Look at this. This is a scud cloud. A lot of times people take pictures of this and go, uh-oh, we got rotation, we got a funnel cloud. Don't be fooled with the scud clouds. And they are tricky. They can be tricky. They can appear to be rotating. There's the funnel cloud, good funnel cloud. So funnel cloud is rotation, but it has not reached the ground. When that reaches the ground, then it becomes a tornado. And there's your wall cloud back. And that's where you'll see the possibility of a tornado dropping down out of the wall cloud. So again, these are the pictures we're kind of after. But we want you to be safe when you're taking pictures of severe weather. Please remember that is our number one concern. Okay, so let's talk more about tornadoes and how they form. And for more on that, here's meteorologist Caitlin McGrath.
Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Caitlin McGrath, and I am so excited to get to know all of you and watch our Weather Watchers community grow. As we head into severe weather season, we do want to talk about tornadoes, because while not common in the DMV, we know they can happen and they can be incredibly dangerous. So let's talk about how tornadoes form. They're almost always a product of supercell thunderstorms, and supercells form when air is incredibly unstable and you have differing wind speeds and directions throughout the atmosphere. This can cause a horizontal tube of air to form, and when you get warm air rising up into the thunderstorms, this can push that rotating column of air, producing a violent funnel of powerful wind. When the funnel makes contact with the ground, a tornado has officially formed. Now, whenever a tornado warning is issued, you need to seek shelter immediately. So let's go over the safest place to be during a tornado. You always want to get away from windows, head into a small interior room. The basement is the best option if you have one. You want to make sure you get away from windows, those exterior walls, and if you can, grab something to protect yourself with in case you do encounter flying debris, something like a mattress or a blanket. If you can, a helmet is always a really safe bet to help protect your head. So again, head to the basement if you can. If not, you want to head to a small interior room. We want to send things over now to Chester Lampkin to learn more about the number of tornadoes in the DMV. Hey, Chester.
I want to talk about how many tornadoes we see locally in the DMV every year. But first, let's get to the national numbers, and these are some impressive numbers. We average about 1,251 tornadoes every year in the continental United States. The peak of the season, typically in that May-June time period. So end of spring, start of summer, especially Tornado Alley, parts of the Deep South. But as you can see from this image here, every month of the year we can get tornadoes, including right here locally in the DMV. So what do we usually see here? Typically, we get about 30 in our region. This includes our friends in West Virginia. So about 30 is average per year. Doesn't mean we're going to get 30. We can get more or less. Averages about 10 in Maryland, about 18 in Virginia, and about 2 in West Virginia. No average for DC just because it's such a small geographical region, but tornadoes have hit DC and pretty much our entire region, so you have to stay weather aware at all times. Keep up to date on the forecast from our free WUSA9 app.
Yeah, absolutely, Chester. Who can forget this? This was the Annapolis tornado September 1st last year, and just phenomenal video. We don't get this kind of video normally here because usually trees are obscuring it. A little different than the plain states. So this was an EF2. Winds were estimated 125 miles per hour. It's about 200 yards wide, so 2 football fields wide. And it was on the ground for 11 miles, which was fairly impressive. And we were on the air tracking this minute by minute. And had a crew on the scene shortly after it went through the Annapolis area. And you may or may not remember, but it did a lot of damage to the South River High School football field. And I mean, a lot of damage. Nobody was there, so it was fine. There were no injuries, but they had to play a couple of games away before they fixed the field. So that was one of our better examples of a tornado in the metro, and some of the best video we've had, actually. We had that video on the air almost as it was happening when we were on the air back in September. So that, yeah, we don't have tornadoes often, but we can have them. And when we have tornadoes, not necessarily, but usually storms that have hail can be very severe. Do all storms that have hail have tornadoes? No. Do all storms that have tornadoes have hail? Usually. So I want to talk about how hail is formed, and for that, here's Mary Marshall.
What is hail? In simple terms, hail is ice that falls from thunderstorms. Here's how hail forms. In thunderstorms, there's an updraft, which is air rising into the storm. Strong updrafts carry water drops high into the cloud, where it encounters very cold air and freezes. Air temperatures that high up in the atmosphere are at 32 degrees or less. A hailstone sort of cycles through the cloud. It drops down where it collides with water, and then it gets lifted up again where that water freezes on top. As this cycle continues, the hailstone grows larger and larger. Hail falls when it's too heavy to stay in the cloud. That usually happens when the updraft is no longer able to support it or the updraft weakens. Now, hail comes in several sizes. Pea-size hail is about 1/4 of an inch. Marble-size hail is 1/2 an inch. And quarter-size hail, which is 1 inch, it serves as a benchmark for severe weather. A storm with hail that is 1 inch or larger is classified as a severe storm.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. So when we want you to send pictures of the hail, try to give us some sort of reference. So if you see hail and you have a quarter, put it right next to the hailstone, or a penny, or if it's bigger, you know, a ping pong ball, or if it's huge, a lime. But you don't usually get that big, fortunately, here in the metro. Mainly we see, you know, 1/4 inch to 1 inch hail. And again, yes, as Mary mentioned, the hail of 1 inch in size, a quarter, it does make it a severe storm. Now, one thing about hail, if you cut it in half, you'll see rings, and that is simply the number of times the hailstone is circulated through the thunderstorm with the updraft, then falling back down, then going back up in the updraft. And as Mary mentioned, when the hailstone becomes so heavy, the updraft can no longer support it, then it falls to the ground. So the stronger the updraft, the larger the hailstones. I want pictures of that. But give us some reference when you send in pictures of that instead of just in your hand, because we can't tell how big your hand is. Okay, so let's talk about severe storm criterion. So one of these conditions must be met for a severe thunderstorm. So you have to have a wind gust of 58 miles per hour or higher. And as Mary mentioned, hail 1 inch or larger in diameter, so a 1/4 inch hail. Of course, if it produces a tornado, it is a severe thunderstorm. So these are the criterion. So strong winds, gusts, 58 miles per hour or higher, or hail. But just as important and just as dangerous in thunderstorms is lightning. And unfortunately, lightning, there is no criteria for a severe thunderstorm for lightning. So you're never going to see a severe thunderstorm based just on lightning, and that is a bit unfortunate. Let's talk a little bit more about that. But lightning is extremely dangerous, as we, I think, all know. Let's talk about it for a minute. So it's actually 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. A bolt of lightning can heat up to 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, something you may or may not know, okay, and we all know this, right? From cloud to ground, you can have lightning. But did you know you can have lightning from ground to the cloud? And, of course, you can have cloud to cloud lightning. So lightning is very, very dangerous. It's something we have to really, anytime you hear thunder, okay, you have to take cover. When thunder roars, go indoors. I think that is a pretty good rule of thumb. Now, in addition to that, we also track certain types of strokes, negative and also positive. And the positive strokes are very strong. They're more powerful. In fact, as much as 5 times more powerful. So our system will track in a thunderstorm if it's negative or positive strokes. And if it's positive, if there's a lot of positive strokes, we have to really pay attention to that. That can be much more dangerous. Now, what about some more lightning myths? You know that saying, lightning never strikes the same place twice? Well, in fact, it can. According to AccuWeather, New York City's One World Trade Center was struck by lightning 189 times between 2015 and 2020. That's why tall buildings like it have lightning suppression systems in place to prevent any major damage. People can be struck by lightning more than once, too. The late Roy C. Sullivan, a U.S. park ranger in Virginia's Shenandoah National Park, holds the Guinness World Record for most lightning strikes survived at 7. And who can forget the lightning strike at St. Albans with the St. Albans Landon game, the lacrosse game. The players were safe, but unfortunately, the spectators took refuge under a big tree, and the lightning came up through the roots, and there was one fatality. So, yeah, stay away from lightning. Now, we'll talk about flooding because actually, in terms of what's most dangerous and what's most likely to cause injury or death for us in the metro is actually flooding, and it's flash flooding. And flash flooding comes up, and yeah, we tell people not to drive through it, and we always see video with cars abandoned in the roadways. So to talk more about just how dangerous flash flooding is, here is Michaela Lucero.
Hey, thanks, Topper. Well, let's talk about the dangers of flash flooding. You've heard us say it time and time again, turn around, don't drown. But how much water does it actually take to make a car float or even sweep it away? Well, a smaller vehicle only takes about 12 inches of moving water for that car to float or to be swept away. But what about a little bit of a bigger vehicle, maybe a truck or an SUV? Well, we'll bump it up to about 18 to 24 inches of water. And again, if that water is moving, that'll sweep away your vehicle. So as we move into severe weather season, like we always say, turn around, don't drown.
And you know, we say that over and over again, and yet we always have video of folks trying to drive through. Remember, flash flooding comes up very quickly, but goes down quickly. So either you can just wait, or you can just go around a little bit. But anytime we talk about the potential for flash flooding, always make sure you have a half a tank of gas or more in case you have to go home a circuitous route. Okay, so let's talk about best practices for taking pictures and videos. Now, we'll accept both horizontal and vertical pictures. They're okay. Make sure you have an unobstructed view. And if you're taking a video, use a steady hand, although I got to say that the newer iPhones are pretty good. There's even an option you can put on to steady it, and it's pretty amazing. So again, want to emphasize we will take horizontal or vertical pictures. Don't take a vertical picture of a tornado and say, not going to send it in. I wish it were horizontal. No, we'll take it. We will take it. Now, how do you submit them to us in the storm report? So, really easy. Use Near Me on the WUSA9 app. You can upload the WUSA9 Weather Watchers Facebook group. If you do it by social, though, hashtag WUSA9 Weather if you would. And you can do it by storm reports, or you can just email it to WUSA9 Weather Watchers at WUSA9.com. So, again, you can upload them directly to the group, or you can use something called Near Me. And for more on that, here is our own Lorenzo Hall.
What is Near Me? If you're out and see news near you, just open the WUSA9 app and go to Near Me at the bottom right. Then tap Share with Us. Upload your photo or video and tell us about it. Hit Submit, and once you see success, your news has reached our team at WUSA9.
Okay, thank you, Lorenzo. So, again, we're going to use these daily and during severe weather. We're going to have that top Weather Watcher photos of the week. And yes, WUSA9 Weather Watchers Facebook group. You can also, you'll see them in there. You can see what other folks have taken, and you can see examples of what are good pictures and what are, not so good pictures. So it'll be a learning process, no doubt about that. Here's an actual picture that we got from Chris today, or last night from the Alexandria, Virginia. That's the moon. Going to be a full worm moon, I think, on Friday. So great picture, great framing, so, and good quality. So that's how you do it. Again, join our group, participate. We have a photo of the week, and I think more exciting, you can actually just share everything amongst yourselves. You can talk about storms and kind of geek out with us, because we do a lot of geeking out. We certainly did last week with that snowstorm. So, do you have questions? Anything in the chat box before I let folks take themselves off mute, Benny, or not? Okay. Standing by. And thanks for hanging with us tonight. Standing by. Okay. Who's the they in the, I think they're going to keep those terms. Are we, okay, stop, Benny. Who's the they and they think they're going to keep those terms? That's the National Weather Service debating whether or not to get rid of the terms warning and watch and change it to something else. That's the they, the National Weather Service. Are we due for another derecho? I mean, they usually come every 8 years or so, so maybe, but that doesn't mean we're going to get one. Who can forget the last one we had with no power for 5 days? Can we get a PDF of this presentation emailed to you? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. It's also, it's on YouTube now live and should reside on YouTube if you want to watch it again. 58 miles per hour seems like a random number to qualify a severe storm. How is that required to qualify to come about? I think it's because it's even number of knots as opposed to miles per hour. It comes out to 58. Is heat lightning a real thing? No. Good question. And I always argue with my wife about this. Heat lightning is from a thunderstorm that is so far away you can't hear it. But it's still a thunderstorm that is producing lightning. So it's often called heat lightning because they'll see it in the desert southwest and the storms will be well far away and they'll see the lightning but don't hear anything. So no, there's really no such thing. A derecho is a line. Derecho means straight in Spanish. So it is a straight line, usually over 200 miles long, that produces a wind gust of at least 70, 80 miles per hour. It's usually a quick event. If you were with us back in, when was it, 2012, I think the derecho was. It goes through in a matter of, 15 minutes. But it was very intense. It produced essentially 80 mile per hour winds across the entire metro. I think they were 1.5 million with that power. And I know many folks lost power for many days. And it was hot. It wasn't like the front went through and we got cooler. It was still triple-digit heat after it went through. It was pretty miserable. Any more snow? Well, I don't think so. I love snow, or maybe you guys don't know I love snow, but I do love snow. I think we may see flakes, but I think the accumulating snow is over. How do you convert knots to MPHs? I would just Google that and not use the formula and just put in knots and you'll get miles per hour. Anything else? Okay. Absolutely. Will you share events and announcements via email for those of us who don't use Facebook and don't want to? Absolutely. Yes. 100%. So you don't have to be on Facebook. You can still participate. You can still send us photos, and we will still send you announcements for maybe more training and also for some swag as well. Want some talk about El Nino versus La Nina. Okay, so El Nino is simply the warming of the equatorial Pacific off South America. And that's a good pattern for us to be in if you want snow during the winter. The opposite is La Nina. The water is actually colder than average. So we sort of had that this winter, which is why I did not forecast a very snowy winter. So you basically, if you like snow here in the metro, you want kind of a weak to moderate El Nino, and you have a better chance of the storms than moving across from Southern California through the deep south and hooking up the coast. They're not very cold winters, but remember, our snowy winters in 95, 96, and 09 and 10 were not particularly cold. They were cold enough, but the pattern, the storm track was perfect in terms of keeping the storm south of us and east of us, and that's what you want if you want some snow. Yes. Okay. A microburst is a downdraft and a thunderstorm that's very small. Thunderstorms aren't that big anyway, and I guess the best idea of a microburst example would be the Flag Day storm in '89 here in Northwest DC, where we had a big downdraft and microburst. And because the trees were felled in different directions, people thought it was a tornado, but it is not. That's one of the things that can fool you, because you do look for a circular pattern of damage. But in this case, it just went like that and spread everything out. But it was not a tornado. It was a downburst or a microburst. Okay, you guys can come off mute now and ask a question. Maybe raise your hands. I better come off at once. Okay, yes.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, hello. I can hear you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the positive and negative lightning that you mentioned before. How can we tell the difference between positive charged and negatively charged lightning that you mentioned before in your presentation?
Right. Well, you want more about it? How you tell the difference? I'm not so sure how they tell the difference. I went to a lightning seminar, and I got to tell you, there's still a lot of unknowns about lightning. Like, we really can't predict when if a thunderstorm's going to have a lot of lightning. Once it starts producing lightning, then we can sort of have an idea that, okay, this is going to have a lot of lightning. And then once we measure if it's negative or positive, we can determine how dangerous it is. And it's dangerous for positive because those are more likely to hit the ground, and they're very, very powerful. But in terms of detecting that, that's just a little science question that was never really covered in our lightning seminar.
Gotcha.
Next question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think someone else had a question, I think. Right? Anybody?
I have a question.
Okay, well, you got a question?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'm new to the DMV, and I know we've kind of had some relatively windy weather over the last couple of weeks, just kind of windstorms out of nowhere. And I didn't know if that's common for this time of year or if it's unusual in all parts of the country right now.
Good question. It is. If you go back over the last 20 years, it's become a little windier here in the metro, but March is a very windy month for us. That's just by virtue of the patterns and the cold fronts that go through and the big storms that pass north and south of us. So it's not that unusual to have a windy March, but we have had a pretty spate of wind, especially even late February into March, but not that unusual, especially for this time of year. Any other questions? Yes, Jim.
Topper.
Yes.
You're the only guy weatherman that mentions Cumberland, and I want to thank you for that, because I think you're the only one that knows we even exist up here in Western Maryland.
You're welcome. Yes.
But I do appreciate that, and anytime you're coming through, we'd love to see you, because I love you. You're my favorite weatherman, and you do a great job. But thanks for mentioning this up here in Western Maryland.
Pleasure. You have any barbecue for me if I come through or anything?
You name it, I'll fix it.
Okay.
I can do anything you want on the grill.
Jim, that is a deal. Yeah, we'll never forget about Cumberland and our friends at Western Maryland. And Western Maryland is just so interesting anyway to me that once you cross the divide, it's a whole another world. And you, by the way, Jim, had a tough time with snow for you that last storm. I took you out of the big band and put you in a smaller band. I think you actually didn't have that much snow in Cumberland.
No, we didn't have that much at all. But we always make a joke that, where Kaiser's Ridge is up on the other side of the divide.
Yep.
I make a joke all the time, so that they start wind chill factors in July up there.
Well, they do. All right, Jim, thanks a lot. We will always mention Cumberland. All right, question in the chat about what is thunder snow. Thunder snow occurs usually when we have like blizzards. I know we had it in '96. I think we had it in 2010. I think we had it in 2016 blizzard. What you need is a lot of vertical velocity, a lot of upward motion, and it can generate thunder and even some lightning occasionally with it. And it is generally it's like a thunderstorm. If you have thunder snow, it's snowing to beat the band. It will be a very intense, relatively small, very heavy band of snow. But it takes incredible vertical velocity, upward motion to get that. But in blizzards, we do get that. Good question. If someone has a weather station, you want them to register it with me. Yes, I'd love to use that. Might be a Davis. I just put a new Davis system up myself at home. So yes, we would love that. We'd love to actually know what equipment you have. So if you have something that you think we should be aware of, like, hey, have them email it to us, what you have. Like if you think, hey, I've got a really good anemometer, and here's how I can access it, or I can get you the numbers, do that. That would help us out a lot. But yeah, register the station. Do I have a favorite weather joke? I think I do, but I don't think I can tell it anymore. I don't think it's PC. So I guess I don't have a favorite weather joke anymore. Yeah, I guess I don't. Okay, a couple more questions open up to the big screen here. Anybody? Sheila, I thought you had a question. Jim, no, you've answered yours. Sheila, do you have a question? Scott, you have a question. Nice to see you, Scott. Scott's been with us a long time. Okay. All right, so I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. I'll show you a couple more things here. Here is a way to follow us, okay? And this would be great if you would do this. So you can follow me at Tenacious Topper, at Chester Lampkin, at Caitlin McGrath, at Meriwether, at Michaela Lucero, WX, and of course, you have to follow WUSA9 as well. And if you send pictures, again, over social, please tag WUSA9, hashtag weather. What is the tag again, Betty? Hashtag WUSA9 weather. And that way it'll show up in our searches and we can get to it a little quicker. But those are all our handles. And follow us if you're not following us already. And download our app if you're not doing that already, because that is helpful in terms of receiving warnings and tracking radar with us, and also just having a little bit more information since you are now a weather watcher. That will help you out. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. It was, I think, a good night. We'll see if we're going to do a hurricane training. Not so sure about that. We'll talk about that. If we do, of course, we'll send you an email. We'll certainly do winter weather training in the fall. Probably October, I would think. We would do that. We'll talk about snow and ice and all that sort of thing. But right now, I want to thank everybody taking their time out. You've been with us for about a little over a half an hour now. And again, this resides on YouTube if you want to watch it again. And get your cameras, get your phones ready. We're going to have a contest, best photo of the week. Let's see what you got. Thanks, everybody.